All right, guys. This is the homework from homework number 2, exercise 4-23. And what we're given here is we're actually given the adjusted trial balance for Blossom Company. And we actually have the before adjustment numbers and we have the after adjustment numbers. So thankfully here in this case, we don't have to go through and actually do the adjustments ourselves. They've been done for us. And what we're looking at here is we're preparing closing entries for temporary accounts. Temporary accounts being things like revenue and expense accounts. These are just temporary accounts. And so what we're doing is we're closing out the accounts. So in this column, we're going to be debiting. We're going to be putting in debits. In this side, we're going to be doing credits. Hopefully by now we understand what these things mean. And so what we're doing is we're closing out the revenue accounts, and we only have 2 types of revenue. We have service revenue and rent revenue. Okay. Again, this is after adjustment, so we're only looking at the side. We're looking at these numbers out here and these numbers here. So we're not looking at the before adjustment, just the after adjustment numbers. And so we're closing out the revenue accounts and we're closing them out into the income summary. So what we have is we have service revenue of $33,240. And we also have rent revenue of $14,340. We're going to go ahead and debit the revenue account for that amount, and we're going to go ahead and credit the income summary. We're going to do if you add these 2 numbers together, the sum of these 2 numbers is 47,580. So we're adding the service revenue and rent revenue together, debiting it here, crediting it here into the income summary. Perfect. And that actually closes out the revenue accounts, and we just have the income here, which is 47,580. Now, next we're going to go ahead and close out the expense accounts. We have salaries and wages expense, supply expense, rent expense, insurance expense, and depreciation expense. And we're using these numbers here on the adjusted side. Okay. The way that this side works here, keep in mind, again, this is I already done all these here, but normally what you would do is you would leave this top one blank for the income summary. This is where we're settling it to, is income summary. And we always do debits first, but we're going to go ahead and start over here. So we're going to enter in all the expenses, salaries, wages, 18,400, supplies expense. We're going to credit 1160. Rent expense, we're going to credit 16,993. Insurance expense, we're going to credit 1330. Depreciation expense, we're going to credit 1200. And once we add all these things together, we're going to get a total of 39,083, which is actually going to be debited to income summary. Okay, so we close these out by adding these as credits, and we go ahead and add it to the income summary as a debit. Okay, so now the expenses are closed out, and all we have are two entries for income summary. Okay, and those incomes, which is going to go here to the next one, which is to close out the income or loss. And those 2 things involved in this are retained earnings and the income summary. So we're going to start with the income summary. What is this number? Well, we come up here to our revenues, and we credited the income summary 47,580, and then we debited the income summary of 39,083. And when we put those 2 numbers together, we get a net, and it's a positive, of 8,497 to the income summary. So this is our profit. This is what we profited this month. This is our net income. And so we're going to go ahead and close out the income summary, and we're going to go ahead and move it over to retained earnings. So we're going to debit the income summary for the total that was there. Okay, we're going to go ahead and put the credit over here into retained earnings. Now the last thing we want to do is close out dividends. We come up here and we see that dividends were paid, and there was no adjustment here, but again, we're just looking at the adjusted side anyway. But we had dividends of 2680. How do we handle this? How do we close out dividends? Well, we go ahead and credit dividends. Okay, 2680, which is going to show up in retained earnings as a debit of 2680. And this is what this problem is asking for. From here, it might ask, we might be asked to do another set of problems. We might be asked to take these numbers, retained earnings specifically. This might be how we're asked to calculate retained earnings as we go into an actual balance sheet. Anyways, hopefully everybody understood this. If anybody has any questions about debits and credits, or why these here are entered as credits versus instead of debits, and these are entered as debits instead of credits, go ahead and put your questions in the comments below in the discussion board. I'll be sure to try my best to answer any questions that anybody has. But overall, this is a pretty straightforward problem, not too complicated, mostly just entering numbers, and the math is not overly complicated as well. So I'm glad to have gotten this problem. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and hopefully it's helpful, and I'll see you guys in the comments. Thanks.